Ukraine demonstrates the scale of its ongoing military operations. However, recent developments have significantly affected Russia's missile capabilities. The closure of critical infrastructure could reduce Russia's annual revenue by approximately $6.5 billion, directly impacting its ability to fund military operations. Meanwhile, Ukraine has already lost over 60% of its energy generation capacity due to repeated strikes, with emergency power outages affecting 6 regions. As a result, the conflict has reached a critical point, particularly in the eastern Donetsk region, where Russian forces continue their push to capture key strongholds despite their potentially compromised missile production capabilities. The Russian military-industrial complex operates an expansive network of missile production facilities spread across the country. 5 major complexes, located in Altai Republic, Rostov, Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Perm, form the core of Russia's solid-fuel missile manufacturing capabilities. These sites represent what U.S. officials describe as the most extensive expansion in military manufacturing since the Soviet era. Together, they provide critical infrastructure. Among the most significant production facilities is the Morozov plant, which is responsible for manufacturing motors for Russia's Iskander and Topol-M missile systems. The Perm facility plays a crucial role in supporting nearly all products of the Moscow Institute for Thermal Technology, a key entity in Russia's missile development. The Votkinsk machine-building plant, originally converted in 1957, is the primary site for the production of ballistic missiles, marking it as an essential component in Russia's missile production network. The Russian missile industry has seen substantial growth in recent months, with an impressive annual production rate. The manufacturing pace has reached between 115 and 130 missiles, with ranges exceeding 350 kilometers each month. Additionally, 100 to 115 shorter-range missiles are produced in the same timeframe. A breakdown of the monthly production shows that approximately 40 Kh-101 cruise missiles and 30 Iskander ballistic missiles are produced, alongside the shorter-range missiles. The importance of these production facilities cannot be overstated, as they manufacture critical components for various missile systems that are integral to Russia's defense strategy. A particular focus is placed on composite solid propellant motors, essential for powering intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and the central elements of Moscow's strategic nuclear deterrent. These facilities are also key to producing surface-to-air missile systems, like the S-300P and S-400, which form a vital part of Russia's ground-based air defense architecture. The strategic significance of these sites extends further, as the complexes also manufacture parts for other weapon systems, such as the Iskander-M short-range ballistic missiles and the rockets used by the Tornado-S multiple rocket launcher system. These capabilities are crucial in maintaining Russia's tactical ground-launched, shorter-range weapons. Recent satellite imagery has revealed significant developments at Russian missile production sites, including the refurbishment of previously dormant Soviet-era facilities and the construction of new infrastructure. This activity represents a dramatic shift from the previous 3 decades, which saw minimal expansion or upgrades. The increased focus on revitalizing these facilities highlights a strategic transformation in Russia's missile production capacity, emphasizing its intent to strengthen military capabilities amid growing international tensions. However, these efforts have faced immediate setbacks due to recent Ukrainian strikes on key missile production facilities, delivering a devastating blow to Russia's military capabilities. The strikes have severely disrupted Russia's operations, leaving its military scrambling to maintain its missile stockpile. Despite years of effort to expand and modernize production, the damage inflicted by these attacks has been nothing short of catastrophic. Russia's cruise missile reserves have been reduced to their lowest levels in recent years, deeply undermining the country's strategic readiness. This intense push and pull between expansion and the sudden disruption illustrates the mounting pressures on Russia's military-industrial complex, which is grappling with not only its internal ambitions, but also the relentless external challenges that threaten to erode its military strength. The stakes have never been higher. At the start of 2023, Russia possessed around 50 Iskander 9M723 missiles. By early 2024, the stockpile had grown to nearly 200 Iskander 9M723 ballistic missiles and 9M727 cruise missiles, reflecting considerable efforts to replenish its arsenal. However, the recent strikes have targeted this expanded inventory, leading to operational adjustments in deployment strategies to mitigate the losses. These disruptions have also affected Russia's ability to conduct missile strikes effectively. Between September 2022 and September 2024, Russian forces launched 11,766 missiles, averaging 2 strikes daily. Ukrainian defenses, however, have proven increasingly adept at countering these attacks. The current daily interception rate stands at 83.5%, with a median interception rate of 88.5%. The effectiveness of Russian strikes has diminished over time, with interception rates from December 2023 to February 2024 reaching 60% and further decreasing to 50% from March 2024 onward. In response to these challenges, the Russian military has modified its tactical approach. The strategy now prioritizes trading territory to exhaust opponents, rather than pursuing ground offensives, focusing instead on establishing stronger defensive positions. Ballistic missiles have become increasingly relied upon to bypass Ukrainian air defenses, while strike patterns have been adjusted to target multiple locations simultaneously. Additionally, Russia has begun employing combined strikes using various missile types to complicate defensive measures. To adapt to mounting constraints, Russia has shifted its military strategy towards integrating traditional firepower with advanced radio-electronic warfare techniques, aiming to compensate for diminishing resources and increasing operational challenges. However, this approach is under growing pressure from international sanctions, which have driven up procurement costs and forced greater reliance on regional allies for essential components. Compounding these difficulties, the scale of recent losses has outpaced Russia's capacity to replenish through mobilization, highlighting the effectiveness of Ukraine's targeted strikes on critical military infrastructure. A technical analysis of one such strike illustrates the scale and precision of Ukraine's operations. In a recent coordinated attack, Ukrainian forces targeted Russia's missile production infrastructure using multiple waves of attacks in a single night. This operation employed precision-guided missiles alongside over 100 drones, a strategy designed to overwhelm Russian air defenses. By combining advanced tactics and technological coordination, Ukrainian forces were able to achieve significant damage to critical facilities, further amplifying the strain on Russia's already pressured military-industrial complex. These strikes demonstrate the evolving sophistication of Ukraine's military efforts, which continue to expose vulnerabilities in Russia's defensive and logistical capabilities. The Air Force of Ukraine executed a series of daring precision strikes on military-industrial facilities in the Rostov region, targeting crucial sites involved in solid rocket fuel production. The operation was nothing short of masterful. Decoy drones were deployed to deceive and exhaust Russian air defenses, creating vital openings for the missiles to reach their intended targets. The meticulous coordination between drone crews, missile units, military intelligence, and special operations teams was not just effective, but essential to the success of this high-stakes attack. The operation highlighted the remarkable precision and tactical brilliance of Ukraine's forces, leaving a profound impact on Russia's military capabilities. The strikes caused substantial damage to Russia's missile production capabilities. Solid fuel production facilities were hit directly, while nearby support infrastructure and storage units also sustained significant damage. These facilities are vital to manufacturing components for Russian ballistic missiles, and the destruction of these assets is expected to result in a notable reduction in production capacity. Satellite imagery has confirmed extensive damage to the targeted sites, further underscoring the operation's effectiveness. The attack also exposed significant vulnerabilities in Russia's air defense network. Russian forces struggled to respond effectively to the multi-wave assault, revealing limitations in their ability to detect and intercept coordinated strikes. The need to defend multiple regions simultaneously placed immense strain on their resources, forcing commanders to prioritize high-value targets and leave other areas exposed. Local authorities in some regions were compelled to implement their defensive measures, highlighting the inability of the Central Defense Ministry to provide comprehensive protection. The recent strikes on Russia's missile production facilities have not only inflicted material damage, but also exposed significant vulnerabilities in the country's defense infrastructure. This operation has underscored the challenges Russia faces in safeguarding its extensive military-industrial complex. The necessity of concentrating air defenses around specific critical sites has created strategic dilemmas for Russian commanders, forcing them to prioritize certain high-value targets while leaving other areas exposed. As a result, these strikes have revealed systemic weaknesses in Russia's ability to protect its key military assets against modern, coordinated warfare tactics. These vulnerabilities are not only weakening Russia's defense infrastructure, but are also triggering a severe economic fallout for the country's military industry. In a desperate response, Russia has significantly ramped up its military spending, with the defense budget soaring beyond $100 billion in 2023, an eye-watering one-third of the nation's total public expenditure. This staggering increase underscores the immense strain on Russia's military resources, desperately trying to sustain operations amidst relentless international sanctions and growing internal disruptions. The combination of mounting strategic and economic pressures is pushing Russia's military-industrial complex to the brink, exposing just how fragile and overstretched its defense capabilities have become. The situation is dire, and the future remains uncertain as these pressures intensify. The financial toll on the Russian defense sector is significant. The cost of military production has escalated, with artillery shell manufacturing expenses rising sharply. For comparison, Western producers spend between $5,000 and $6,000 per 155mm artillery round, while Russian equivalents cost about $600. Despite these lower unit costs, sanctions have inflated overall production expenses and disrupted supply chains. Furthermore, the sector faces a severe labor shortage, with approximately 160,000 positions in military factories remaining unfilled. The economic fallout extends beyond domestic challenges to Russia's international defense contracts. Long-standing customers like India and China have begun exploring alternative suppliers, while Kazakhstan, which previously sourced 90% of its arms from Russia, is pursuing new partnerships. Egypt, under US influence, is also reconsidering its defense procurement strategies. These shifts have forced Russia to prioritize domestic needs over export commitments, resulting in delays or cancellations of international deliveries. The long-term implications for Russia's defense industry are profound. The sector is showing signs of systemic strain or overheating, as rising costs consume an increasing share of the nation's economic output. Structural challenges include shortages of critical components such as microelectronics, machine-building tools, and special steels. Efforts to maintain production levels have led to extended work shifts and the cancellation of employee holidays, further underscoring the unsustainable nature of current practices. Experts warn that the industry could lose up to 40% of its research and engineering capabilities, eroding its long-term innovation potential. In response to the mounting pressures on its defense industry, the Russian government has implemented drastic measures, reallocating nearly one-third of its commercial economy to arms production. While this shift has led to some economic growth, with Russia's GDP increasing by 4% in early 2024, the growth is heavily dependent on military spending. This heavy reliance on defense spending leaves the economy vulnerable to potential instability, especially as the country faces compounded challenges from sanctions, labor shortages, and rising costs. Furthermore, Russia's reliance on regional allies for defense procurement has provided temporary relief, but this dependency only highlights the fragility of its military-industrial base as it struggles to navigate these economic pressures. One of the key factors contributing to Russia's difficulties is the severe impact of Western sanctions on its missile component supply chains. These sanctions have disrupted access to essential microelectronics and specialized materials, which are vital for the production of advanced missile systems. As a result, Russia has been forced to seek alternative sources to sustain its military capabilities. However, this shift in procurement strategy has introduced new complications, such as the reliance on lower quality components and higher costs, further exacerbating the challenges faced by Russia's defense sector. These supply chain disruptions are a critical element in the broader economic strain that Russia's military-industrial complex is currently experiencing. The Russian military-industrial complex is facing significant shortages of essential components. Microelectronics, especially processors and circuit boards, have become a critical bottleneck, affecting the production of guidance systems for missiles. In addition, Russia's production of rocket propellants and basic explosives has been hindered by restricted access to raw materials. cotton cellulose and nitrocellulose, essential for manufacturing gunpowder and rocket propellants, are also in short supply, further exacerbating production difficulties. To circumvent international restrictions, Russian authorities have developed complex networks to acquire components. Shipments from countries such as Armenia, Turkey, and Kazakhstan have been pivotal in maintaining the flow of necessary parts. Furthermore, Moscow has turned to alternative suppliers, including China, Iran, and North Korea. Chinese shipments saw a significant increase of 47% in 2023 compared to the previous year, while Iranian collaboration has led to the establishment of a new drone factory in Tatarstan. North Korea has also contributed, supplying up to 2 million shells. However, these alternative sourcing efforts come with challenges of their own. The quality of the components received from these countries is often subpar, with Russian manufacturers now paying 80% more for semiconductors compared to pre-war prices. These components frequently prove unreliable, negatively affecting the overall quality of the weapons produced. The timeline for Russia's recovery from these supply chain disruptions appears to be long and fraught with difficulties. Military analysts predict extended disruptions, as the defense industry has already reallocated nearly 1/3 of Russia's commercial economy to arms production. Despite these efforts, labor shortages remain a significant issue, with military factories lacking approximately 160,000 workers. Western officials estimate that Russia's domestic ammunition production capacity is insufficient to meet the demands of its ongoing conflict. Looking ahead, intelligence assessments indicate that Russia will continue to face significant challenges in maintaining quality control and production capacity within its defense industry. The ongoing combination of restricted access to Western technology, rising production costs, and the questionable reliability of alternative supply sources point to a prolonged recovery period. To cope with these pressures, Russia has extended work shifts and cancelled holidays, signaling the systemic stress and unsustainable pressure placed on its manufacturing infrastructure. These efforts, while aimed at sustaining military output, reveal deep vulnerabilities within the Russian defense sector. This situation has far-reaching strategic implications for the ongoing war. The military balance between Russia and Ukraine is undergoing fundamental shifts as Moscow adapts to these new operational realities. Despite maintaining a force of approximately 350,000 soldiers on the front lines, compared to Ukraine's 50,000 troops, the dynamics of the conflict are changing. Russia's shift toward a militarized economy, with defense spending now accounting for 6% of its GDP, enables sustained military operations, but also brings risks of long-term instability. This growing strain on Russia's economic and military resources, combined with Ukraine's increasing effectiveness in countering Russian offensive operations, may contribute to a shift in the overall direction of the war, placing further pressure on Russia's ability to maintain its military momentum. Russia's military operations are marked by a significantly higher artillery fire rate, 5 times greater than Ukraine's, yet the latter's artillery supply is constrained. Furthermore, while Russia is capable of producing approximately 1 million artillery shells per month, Ukraine's production capacity is heavily dependent on the support of its allies. This disparity underscores Russia's logistical advantages, though the growing operational constraints it faces continue to challenge its offensive capabilities. The Russian military is struggling with the maintenance of advanced platforms, such as the Su-57 aircraft, which has led to the prioritization of older systems like the Su-35. Resources are now focused on unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, armored vehicles, and artillery systems to meet the demands of the conflict. As a result, the Russian command has been forced to make operational adjustments, including the relocation of strategic aviation assets away from the Ukrainian borders, the construction of protective engineering structures around key facilities, and the deployment of additional air defense systems to safeguard critical infrastructure. However, these adaptations may soon prove insufficient as the Russian military-industrial complex shows signs of overheating, and with defense procurement driving unsustainable economic growth. On the other hand, Ukraine has developed significant strategic advantages despite the disparity in troop numbers. Ukrainian forces have become increasingly effective in their long-range strike capabilities, with successful hits on Russian targets located as far as 1,750 kilometers from Ukraine's borders. These strikes have forced Russian strategic aviation to operate from more distant bases, thereby complicating the operational tempo of Russian forces. Ukraine's domestic weapons development program has also advanced, reducing its reliance on foreign military aid and bolstering its deterrence capabilities against future aggression. This technological progress serves multiple purposes, not only enhancing Ukraine's defensive posture, but also stimulating high-tech domestic production and creating the potential for future defense exports. Moreover, Ukrainian strikes have extended beyond military targets, damaging key economic infrastructure, including oil refineries. These strikes have created significant logistical challenges for Russian forces and highlighted the vulnerability of Russia's economic resources. In this context, Ukraine's ability to conduct deep strikes represents a critical strategic equalizer. Ukrainian forces have successfully exploited weaknesses in Russian air defenses, forcing Moscow to disperse its forces and deploy costly protective measures. This shift in dynamics has fundamentally altered the strategic calculus, compelling Russian commanders to divert substantial resources toward defense rather than offense. Ultimately, these developments are pushing Moscow toward diplomatic solutions as it grapples with the increasing effectiveness of Ukraine's military strategies. NATO's emergency response to Russia's missile operations represents a significant shift in international military dynamics as the alliance moves quickly to address the escalating threat posed by Russia's deployment of experimental hypersonic ballistic missiles. These missile developments have primarily raised concerns about the growing risks to European security, prompting NATO to convene urgent talks with its allies. NATO's assessment has been clear and resolute. Allies reaffirmed their strong support for Ukraine, underscoring that Russia's missile actions are an attempt to intimidate both Ukraine and its Western backers. The NATO-Ukraine Council, as the primary forum for consultation, has become central to coordinating efforts and addressing security concerns, especially in light of Russia's increasingly aggressive missile deployments. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk described the conflict as entering a decisive phase, indicating the gravity of the situation. NATO's strategic response has involved enhanced military support, including increased air defense coordination, intelligence sharing initiatives to monitor Russian capability, and the establishment of emergency diplomatic consultation mechanisms. In the broader international defense market, Russia's actions have sparked a substantial realignment. Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky announced a policy shift, declaring that his country would impose no limits on the use of its weapons and equipment provided to Ukraine. This policy change reflects the growing international resolve to support Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. The global defense market has experienced heightened demand for air defense systems and missile defense capabilities, while NATO's eastern flank has seen an accelerated modernization effort. However, differences in European policy approaches have emerged, as demonstrated by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's suggestion that US involvement in Ukraine's weapons deployment might be at play. These divergent perspectives have impacted defense procurement patterns and the broader international cooperation framework. The diplomatic implications of Russia's missile actions are profound. In contrast to Russia's bellicose rhetoric, Western nations have maintained a unified diplomatic front. Kremlin spokespersons attributed blame to reckless decisions and actions of Western countries for supplying weapons to Ukraine, reflecting the intensifying diplomatic tensions. President Vladimir Putin, in his nationally televised speech, claimed that the missile deployment was retaliation for Ukraine's use of longer-range US and British missiles. This prompted urgent diplomatic consultations among Western allies, culminating in a coordinated response. The European Union, EU, has demonstrated strong solidarity with Ukraine by implementing massive expansions of sanctions against Russia. This includes coordinated actions with NATO, the G7, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Norway, South Korea, and Australia, all of whom have taken steps to weaken Russia's economic base and limit its ability to sustain its military operations. Furthermore, the EU has imposed unprecedented restrictive measures, including the full suspension of visa facilitation agreements with Russia in response to Moscow's controversial practice of issuing Russian international passports to residents of occupied regions. This decision has significantly altered the diplomatic relationship between Russia and Western nations, amplifying tensions and highlighting the broader geopolitical stakes at play. Russia's missile program is currently navigating substantial challenges due to ongoing sanctions, limited access to critical components, and an evolving geopolitical landscape. This section will examine the key factors influencing the future trajectory of Russia's missile capabilities, including production limitations, adaptation strategies, long-term sustainability concerns, and broader strategic implications. The immediate future of Russia's missile program is fraught with critical challenges. Sanctions have severely disrupted access to key components, particularly microelectronics, rocket propellants, and explosives, all vital for missile production. The Russian defense industry is also facing a severe workforce shortage, with over 160,000 skilled workers currently needed in military factories. To address these obstacles, the Russian government has focused on maximizing internal production capacity and diversifying its sources for necessary materials. However, these solutions are only temporary, as the quality and reliability of alternative suppliers, such as those in China, North Korea, and Iran, remain concerns. Production projections indicate a significant shortfall in production goals for 2024, especially concerning the procurement of microelectronics, which are essential for missile guidance systems. The reduction in rocket propellant manufacturing and artillery shell production further underscores the strain on Russia's industrial base. In response to these production challenges, Russia has implemented several key adaptation strategies. One major adjustment has been the shift towards leveraging older technology to compensate for the shortage of advanced systems. Older platforms, such as the Su-35 fighter jets, are being prioritized, while efforts to expand the use of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and artillery systems are underway. These measures help to ensure that military operations can continue at a reduced but sustainable pace, despite limitations in advanced technology. Another significant adaptation strategy involves relocating critical production facilities to more secure regions, thereby reducing vulnerability to Ukrainian strikes and ensuring continued output. The Russian military has also increased work shifts and cancelled holidays to meet production targets, further reflecting the pressure on the workforce and manufacturing infrastructure. Looking toward the future, the long-term viability of Russia's missile program remains uncertain. While the government has allocated substantial resources to defense, with military spending reaching 6% of GDP, this heavy reliance on a militarized economy is unsustainable in the long run. The defense sector's dependency on external suppliers for critical components, coupled with the increasing costs of production, places significant strain on Russia's economic and industrial base. Moreover, the absence of a sufficiently skilled workforce further complicates efforts to maintain missile production levels. International cooperation plays a critical role in the sustainability of Russia's missile program, as sanctions continue to isolate Russia from Western markets. The country's reliance on regional allies such as China and Iran for critical materials may provide temporary relief. However, this reliance also introduces risks related to the quality and reliability of components, which could affect the long-term performance of Russian missiles. Additionally, the potential for further international diplomatic and economic measures against Russia remains, a significant uncertainty that could hamper future missile production and operational capabilities. In conclusion, while Russia has made strategic adjustments to cope with the immediate challenges to its missile program, the long-term sustainability of these efforts is uncertain. The ongoing struggles with component sourcing, workforce shortages, and the increasing costs of military production present significant obstacles, which may ultimately limit Russia's ability to maintain or enhance its missile capabilities.